Today's episode is brought to you by Special, the independent streaming service connecting creators and viewers authentically and on demand. Stream independent. For more information, go to special.tv.
The Director Series is made possible by the support of our subscribers on Special. Subscribe today at special.tv/The Director Series and gain access to exclusive full-length Director Series episodes and other bonus content, ad-free. When he was 24, Tarantino met his future producing partner, Lawrence Bender, at a party. Struck by the young man's infectious enthusiasm for cinema, Bender encouraged him to write a screenplay, which would become the basis for Tarantino's very first film, My Best Friend's Birthday.
I don't give a shit what Unruly Julie plays in her show. I don't care. Well, then listen to Unruly Julie then, dickbait.
While the film didn't exactly prove to be a stepping stone to a directing career, and still remains officially unreleased, this 1987 effort nonetheless would serve as a crucial crash course for the budding director. My Best Friend's Birthday was intended to be a feature-length film, but an unfortunate lab fire destroyed the final reel during editing. The only surviving elements run for roughly 30 minutes, and tell a slapdash story that only emphasizes the amateurish nature of the project. Set during a wild California night, My Best Friend's Birthday concerns Mickey Burnett, played by co-writer and co-producer Craig Hammond, whose birthday is the focus of the story. His best friend, Clarence Poole, played by Tarantino himself, takes charge of the planning by buying the cake and hiring a call girl named Misty to entertain his friend. Along the way, things go seriously awry, and Clarence must scramble to save the evening. My Best Friend's Birthday was filmed over the course of 3 years, all while Tarantino worked at Video Archives. Like many first amateur films, the characters are thinly drawn, performances are wooden, the technical quality is questionable, and the editing is awkward and jarring. However, Tarantino's ear for witty dialogue is immediately apparent. It sounds strange coming out of the mouths of untrained actors who don't know how to channel its intricacies and cadences into music, but it's present nonetheless. The myriad pop culture references, the creative use of profanity, and the shout-outs to classic and obscure films are all staples of Tarantino's dialogue, and it's all there from the beginning.
Well, fuck your mama.
There is no filter between Tarantino and his characters. It all comes gushing forth like a fountain, straight from the future auteur himself. In his almost 30 years of filmmaking experience, Tarantino has been well documented by the media as a self-indulgent director, often drawing criticism for casting himself in minor roles. It's interesting, then, that the very first frame of Tarantino's very first film prominently features Tarantino himself. Sure, it might be a little narcissistic, but it makes sense when taken in context. His characters are cinematic projections of him, each one signifying a particular corner of his densely packed persona. Why not begin at the source? His performance as Clarence Poole is vintage Tarantino, with an Elvis-inspired bouffant, outlandish clothes, and the unbridled energy of a jittery coke-high. It's almost like the cinematic incarnation of Tarantino himself, albeit at his most trashy.
Mine.
Yeah, but I have a foot fetish, so it kind of evens itself out.
He even goes so far as outright stating his foot fetish to Misty in one scene, a character trait we know all too well to be true of Tarantino in his real life. For a director who is oft-noted for a dynamic visual style, the look of My Best Friend's Birthday is admittedly sedate. Of course, the film's scratchy black and white, 16mm film look is to be expected given the meager production budget. For a film where the camera never moves save for one circular dolly shot, an astounding 4 cinematographers are credited: Roger Avery, Scott McGill, Roberto Casada, and Rand Vossler, a revolving door no doubt necessitated by the film's inordinately protracted shooting schedule. Visually speaking, it's an unremarkable film that contains none of the man's stylistic flourishes, but Tarantino's rapid-fire wit more than adequately covers for the lack of panache. A distinct rockabilly aesthetic is employed throughout, from the costumes to the locations. It even applies to the music, which features various well-known surf rock, lounge rock, and Johnny Cash cues, none of which I can imagine were ever officially licensed in any capacity. Much has been made of Tarantino's inspired music selections, and his eclectic choices have served as a calling card for his unique, daring style. Music is an indispensable part of Tarantino's aesthetic, from its overt appearances over the soundtrack to certain story elements that recur over multiple films.
Yo, K-Billy.
Like his invented radio station K-Billy, which makes its first appearance here. His signature use of off-kilter, counter-conventional music sees its first incarnation in My Best Friend's Birthday, where he employs a jaunty pop song during a violent fistfight. Think of it as a rough draft for one of the biggest and most shocking set pieces in his forthcoming debut. Watching My Best Friend's Birthday, it becomes clear that Tarantino's films have always been unabashed manifestations of his personality and his influences. Tarantino's storylines and characters exist in an alternate reality, where extreme violence and profanity are more commonplace. There are whole fan theories that draw lines between his films and connect them together into a coherent universe.
Oh yeah, who are you expecting? Aldo Ray?
For instance, there's a moment in the film where Tarantino's character Clarence calls somebody using the fake name Aldo Ray. Attentive viewers will note that a variation of the same name would show up over 20 years later in the incarnation of Brad Pitt's Lieutenant Aldo Raine in Inglourious Basterds. Further adding to this theory of the Tarantino universe is the fact that My Best Friend's Birthday would go on to form the initial basis for his screenplay True Romance, later directed by the late Tony Scott. There's even a kung fu fight in My Best Friend's Birthday, previewing his fascination with the martial art form that would eventually give us the likes of Kill Bill. My Best Friend's Birthday didn't lead to anything substantial, simply because it was never released. Nevertheless, it's a dynamic illustration of auteur theory at work, where the director's personality shines through regardless of the resources or story. We can literally see Tarantino finding his sea legs, feeling it out as he goes along. The film is an artifact, but it's also much more than that. It's both a humble introduction to the voice that would come to redefine modern cinema, as well as a very rough preview of the radical shift in filmmaking attitudes that would follow in the wake of Tarantino's explosive arrival.